Hello, this is my data overview. My name is Amber Mitchell, and I'm a third grade special education teacher at Center Elementary School. This data overview presentation is going to be over Center Elementary School, third grade ELA, and I'm going to present this to the school leadership team and the third grade level team. The purpose of this data overview is to review student achievement data for Center Elementary School and ELA on state comprehensive standardized tests. We'll review a brief summary of student achievement results discussing strengths and weaknesses. We'll review areas of weakness for future strengths. And also you'll see a 3-year of data comparison over 2014-15, 15-16, and 16-17 school years. Starting off, I did some student data. Looking here, we have the gender that's enrolled at Center, or that has been enrolled over the past 3 years. In 2014-2015, you see that we had far more males than we did females enrolled. In 2015-16, we had, again, more males than females. And then in 2016-17, the roles kind of flip, and we have more females than males. Ethnicity by percentage. So this is the ethnicity that's enrolled at Center over the past 3 years. You see that Center Elementary is a predominantly African American school. So looking at our percentages here, we have, more of a black population. Then we have, a pretty good amount of white kids. And then we go into multiracial Hispanic and not many Asian. Socioeconomic details, I just pulled a report for students who are eligible for free and reduced meals. In 2014, all the way to 2016-17, we were only at 90%. That means 10% of our kids still had to pay for their lunch. However, starting in the 17-18 school year and still now, 100% of our students at Center are eligible for free reduced meals. Chronically absent, I pulled this report so that I could, see for myself as well, but chronically absent students are kids who miss more than 15 days of school. Looking at the first graph I did by gender, if you'll notice that in 2014, we had more female students than male students that were absent. Then in 2015-16, we had far more female students who were chronically absent than male. And then when we go into the 16-17 school year, the gap kind of closes a little bit, but we still have more females than males who are absent. Looking over here, I did chronically absent students by ethnicity. For the 14-15 school year, it looks like our white kids were the ones who were more absent, who missed more than 15 days. In the 2015-16 school year, again, our white kids are missing more than 15 days. And then in the 16-17 school year, we have our multiracial group who missed more than 15 days, who were the most to miss. So our white kids are our ones for 14-15 and 15-16 who were, absent more. And then it jumps to 16-17, and it's our multiracial kids who are absent more. I pulled the retention just because I kind of wanted to see it being, a special education teacher. I did student retention by ethnicity here, and you see that our black students are retained more than any other ethnicity at our school. It looks like 15-16 school year was a big year because we had 76% of our retentions were our African American students. Over here, I also did retention by gender. In 14-15, it was a close race between male and female, but males had 1% more than females that were retained. In the 15-16 school year, we had more females that were retained than males. And then in 16-17, the gap kind of closes again, and males, we had 1% more males than females that were retained. This is a slide that I chose to put in just because, again, I'm a special education teacher, so I just kind of wanted to see where our numbers were. But starting in 2014, we had about 12.7% of students with disabilities. And then 15, 16, 16, 17 school year, our numbers decreased to 12.6%. At Center, we are a school that has a pretty high rate of students with disabilities and kids that we serve with IEPs. Teacher data. First of all, I just did genders of teachers by gender. If you look here in 2014, 15, and all the way across, we are predominantly female teachers here. We're trying to, get more male teachers involved, and, we really want to push that because our school is a school that really needs male role models. So we're only looking at 1 to 2 male teachers at our school within these past 3 years. I did ethnicity of teachers by number here. If you noticed, our white population of teachers is the highest. That's what we have the most of here at Center. And that's been over the past 3 years, and it's still that way today. However, we are looking to hire, more of different populations because, again, at Center, we need role models for our students. We have actually hired 2 Hispanic teachers at Center this year who are currently serving our ESOL kids, so that's worked out really well so far. Here I did teacher data of years of experience. If you notice here, I didn't really notice this, but until I did this table, and that's really why it's really great to do these things. But it seems like at Center we don't hire many new teachers. Of these 3 years, we had 1, 3, and 2 new teachers in the building. When you go to 1 to 10 years, we had a little more. We had 12 teachers in 14, 15, 14 and 15, 16, and then again 14 and 16, 17. When you go to 11 to 20 years, we had 14, 11, and then 12. And then you notice when you get to year 21 to 30, these numbers decrease. It went from 14 to 4 and 14, 15. It went to 11 to 6 and 15, 16. And then it went to 12 to 6 and 16, 17. Now, here's where I really was shocked because I really didn't realize. When teachers hit 30 years, they are out the door. And you can see that here. In our building in 14, 15, we only had 1 teacher who had 30 or more years, or more than 30 years. 15, 16, it was the same way. We only had 1 teacher with more than 30 years. And then in 16, 17, we only had 2 teachers with more than 30 years. So teachers, as soon as they hit 30 years, they tend to go ahead and retire and get out the building. And I really didn't realize that until pulling this report. All right, now the good stuff. Talking about 3rd grade ELA Georgia milestone data. First thing I did was just pull numbers on how many kids we actually tested. In 14-15, we tested 93 kids. In 15-16, we tested 85 kids. And then in 16-17, our numbers really jumped and we tested 97 kids in 3rd grade. More on the milestone data. This is their actual performance by year. 2014-2015 was the first administration of the Georgia's new comprehensive testing system. This was the first year we did Georgia Milestone. The year before that, we were still given the CRCT. But if you look at our performance here, which was really shocking, the very first year we gave this test in 14-15, our numbers were really good. We had 30% developing learners. We had 37% who were proficient learners, and 15% who are distinguished learners. At Center, we strive for 3s and 4s for proficient distinguished learners, but we had 17% who didn't pass the GMAS, who were beginning learners. So if you move on over to 15-16 school year, our numbers were even better. We had only 14% who didn't pass. We had 25% who were developing learners. And then we jumped and we had 38% who were proficient and 21% who are distinguished learners. So we noticed a big increase here with our growth because we growed kids from developing learners to proficient learners and proficient learners to distinguished learners. So 15-16 was a really great year for us. Sadly, we go over to 16-17 school year, and we increased in developing learners, but we went down in proficient and distinguished learners. So we don't really know what happened here, but something happened, and because we didn't have near as many proficient or distinguished learners, and also our number of percentage of students went up here who didn't pass the GMAS. So that was a pretty sad year for us. I did a domain breakdown. You have reading and vocabulary, which is pretty much comprehension, and then you have writing and language. And what I did here was I just put the percentage of students who didn't master each domain. So in 14-15, we had 15% of kids who did not master the reading and vocabulary domain, and we had 25% who did not master the writing and language. In 15-16 school year, we had 18% who did not master the reading and vocabulary. Again, 25% who did not master writing and language. And then in 16-17 school year, we dropped back down to 15% who did not meet for reading and vocabulary. However, our writing increased by 5% of 30% of kids who didn't master the writing and language domain. Discussion of data. A few strengths we have. We increased the reading and vocabulary domain. Our number of percentage of kids who did not master that domain went down. We're implementing a new writing program to help increase our kids who are struggling with writing. Our instructional coaches got together in our district and created us a writing unit. So we're implementing that this year. And we also increased our developing learners. So those kids who didn't pass the GMAS, they've now become developing learners, which is going to show growth for us. So that's really well. Grabbing those kids who did not pass, bumping them up to show growth. Some weaknesses we have is our retention rate. A lot of our kids are retained in kindergarten, so by the time they get to third grade, they really need to be retained again. And however, we're just, no child left behind. They don't, we're not really allowed to retain them twice, so that's an issue for us. Percentage of distinguished and proficient learners decreased as we looked at 16-17. These two areas decreased, which is really not what we need. We need those percentages to stay higher. And then, again, the writing and language domain was a significant weakness for us. We had 30% of kids who did not master that domain. Some questions that I have for the audience is, how can we incorporate technology into the curriculum to engage students in the ELA content and raise milestone assessment scores? How can we lessen our retention rate in younger grade levels? How can we improve our writing and language scores? And how can we show growth and move our students from developing learners to proficient and distinguished learners? Resources where I got my data from. I got data from the Georgia Department of Education, which is the Georgia DOE, the Governor's Office of Student Achievement, Georgia Milestone Assessment results, and our statewide longitudinal data assessments from SLDS. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.